afternoon, everybody. Wasn't that fun and creepy? So anyway, we are going to have a great chat with the 3 stars of evil. So let's bring out, up first, she plays skeptical but curious Dr. Kristen Bouchard. That would be Katja Herbers. He plays spiritually devoted, but maybe he's having some questions. David Acosta, Mike Colter. And as of now, he's still skeptical. Ben Shakir, Aasif Mandvi. So my first question is, I spent last night researching how haunted the Driscoll is. Apparently there are 3 different floors that have little children who laugh malevolently, and there are other paintings that are haunted. Doing this show for 3 seasons, have you guys become more or less open to stories like that?
More.
How come?
Well, I stayed in a haunted hotel. I think it was Winnipeg has a haunted hotel. I'm beginning to think every city has at least one haunted hotel. And I stayed there one night, and I left because I was like, well, I don't want to stay here anymore. I moved to another hotel that was next door. That was nicer. But I think there is something. I don't know where to put that. I'm not sure if it was religious or it was just spiritual or something different. Otherworldly, because I think I'm from the South, and I assume that there is something else besides this consciousness that we have here in this physical world. So when people die in a very traumatic way or something like that, I do believe that there's spirits, or that their spirit or something, energy stays if it's unsettled, and it lurks and lingers. And it doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. They may just be sort of in a purgatory, in some sort of limbo, and they just were waiting to move on or something, or maybe they're never going to move on.
I stayed at the Driscoll. It's terrifying. I'm totally unlike Ben. I believe in all that shit. So it's like, but I stayed at the Driscoll when I came here with the Daily Show, and we all stayed there, and people moved rooms in the middle of the night because they heard things in the hallway. And I was up till 3 o'clock in the morning with my now wife, then girlfriend, on the phone because I couldn't go to sleep. So I believe all that stuff. If you tell me, you put that in my head, and then I'm just, that's it. And there's a lot of really like old pictures. They don't help the situation. You know what? They could have like just contemporary art on the wall, but instead they got like pictures of people from like the 1800s and stuff. They're like, we're haunted, and we're haunted. It's like, come on.
How about you, Katja?
Yeah, I think, I've also had like nice stories. When my stepfather passed away, I kept dreaming that he was in my mom's house, like in the little room where we do the laundry, and he was sitting there in the back corner, and I would walk up to him in my dream and say like, what's going on? Why are you sitting here? And he's like, I've never been here. This is the nicest place in the house. And he was very happy. And I don't know, apropos nothing, I guess. But I don't think all I do believe in it, but I don't think all of that is bad. I think maybe there are some friendly ghosts that just want to have a friend or hang out, or yeah.
So the episode that we just watched features a couple fairly steamy but also fairly strange love scenes. And I assume love scenes in general, difficult enough to do in the first place. What is the added complication of not necessarily being sure who's maybe demonically possessed, who's hallucinating things? How does that change the dynamic?
The dynamic between Kristen and David, or
between Mike and Katja.
Yeah, I was like, who? Between who? The good thing is that we tend to just stay in character for the whole season, right? And we just kind of stay in character. I think I tend to stay in character. So when Katja comes on set, I just think she's Kristen, and then that's kind of, I call her Kristen, and then that's, I'm joking, guys. No.
I was gonna say, like,
I'm joking. We do not do that. We do not do that.
I don't know.
No.
About that.
Well, it's funny, to be honest, we saw those scenes just now, and we were laughing a lot. I think
I was vomiting.
I I had to hold Aasif.
Yeah.
Like I
He had a
dressed
bag.
him a little because he felt really grossed
Yeah,
out.
he had to put his head between his legs a little bit. He was getting sick. He's getting sick. But we had fun, I think, and just enjoyed having the crew to sort of like make this work and stuff. And Robert was there, which is very comfortable.
I kept asking Robert.
Go ahead. I know what you were gonna say.
Oh yeah, and then I stopped myself.
Oh, but she was gonna say, Robert, how do I look in this lighting?
No, I did not.
No?
No.
No. Okay, fine.
No. I just like it's so weird to do sex scenes, obviously, and then especially with this dude, and so we tend to just make a lot of jokes to get rid of the awkwardness. So I kept asking after a take, because also the weird thing about sex scenes when you do them, people think that that's how you have sex. So they're like super afraid to give you any notes.
That's not?
No, that's my experience.
That's not how. Oh, okay. All right. You learn something new every day, folks.
No, they're like, I can't say, I can't give her a note because maybe she moans like that, or maybe she holds her body like that. I don't want to insult her, right? So I tend to, when I have to do that, just be extremely sort of like vulgar in
That's
the
weird, because I gave her tons of notes and she took all of them. I don't understand what she's saying.
No, I mean, I just kept asking Robert, does this look dirty enough to you? Is it dirty? Is it dirty, Robert? Tell me if it's nasty. Robert,
He yelled,
is this
filthy,
nasty?
filthy, filthy. That's
Filthy.
filthy.
And so when he said it was super filthy, I knew we were hitting the right spot for him.
Yeah, Robert's like,
That sort of raises a different question, because the second season that premiered last year was produced originally for CBS and then aired on Paramount Plus. This is the first season that was produced for Paramount Plus.
And immediately I'm taking my clothes off.
Exactly. Other than adding dirty demon sex, did it change anything?
Maybe not that much, except like I think the biggest change is that we no longer have to adhere to like the 43 minutes exactly. So some episodes will be 46 or and which is really nice because then scenes get a little bit more air and jokes can land better. And so I think that's the biggest difference. I don't think the Kings were ever that, how do you say that in English?
well, they were adhering to the, tight.
They weren't, like, CBS really loved them, so they were like, okay, you guys do you, but obviously we couldn't swear, so sometimes I would have to say things like, darn it, when clearly it was like, fuck this fucking shit, So now I can say that.
Watching this episode, what I watched, it did, now that you mention it, it did feel different because it didn't feel like there were a lot of what we call act outs. And there's a lot of moments where there's commercials and the writers have to write for the commercial break. And so you have to leave somewhat of a cliffhanger so the person will then not tune out and go away and turn the channel. I didn't see a lot of that in the editing. When I'm watching it, it feels like it was no place to really, it just sort of just went from one thing to the next, and there was not that, constant, effort to make some moment of an act, so you have to now tune in to the next thing. They didn't have to worry about that, so it was a little more easy. It flowed from one scene to the next without any real sort of, here we go, come back, don't get out of your seat, and I felt that.
Anything different, Asa, for you?
No, I think that's it. I mean, just mostly like we didn't have to adhere to standards and practices, and we got to. I think as the season goes along, you'll see, we just got to play a little bit more, even story-wise, with things, and I think that's mostly.
So you guys are stars of the show. You're also presumably fans. When you get scripts, other than obviously looking at your dialogue, what gets you excited? What scenes are you looking for? Co-stars that you want to do scenes with, etc.
Well, we get amazing guest actors, which is wonderful because we filmed the show in New York, so all these really great Broadway actors come and be on our show. This season we've got Wallace Shawn, who's obviously amazing, and it's in memory of Peter Scolari, who we lost last year, which is so very sad. So that's a wonderful thing, all these wonderful actors who come in. And then I aside from just the storyline per episode, what I draw to personally, or as Kristen, is, what's going on with David, what's going on with Aasif, which is so fun about our show. I think that we have this procedural element, but then also very much the long storyline between, what's going on between those people. And I like beating up people. I'm always very happy when that's in the script.
Yeah. As in life. She likes to beat up people, so they see that and they go, oh, she likes hurting people. Let's put that in the, you know.
You mean off camera?
Off camera, yeah.
Oh.
In life, as in life. Okay. See? Again. I guess for me, I think the obstacles, I like obstacles in the script. You know, something that it's going to take some maneuvering for the characters to sort of work through, and there's something there that is awkward or something that is not so easily explained, and it just gives us something to do. And so when I look at that in scripts, that pops out to me. Like, I think, I don't know if it was, but I reading the script that was that you guys just saw the scene, after David having had this thing with the demon, you know, seeing her and thinking that it was real, that for me, when I saw the script in the page, I was going, oh, wow, that's gonna be fun. Because, you know, I mean, honestly, if you think you had sex with the person doesn't acknowledge that you had sex with them, that would be weird. I mean, that's only happened to me 3 times in life. And every time I'm like, and so, yeah. That was fun.
Keeping in so many jokes.
I know
right
she
now,
is.
Like a
I know
total
she
adult.
can't stand it. She can't.
I have like 3, 4, 5.
Oh, her
really
brain is
good jokes.
fluttered. I'm just setting her up, and she's like, oh God.
I just look for my part, and I don't read the rest of the script, really.
I missed that. Repeat that. I'm sorry.
I just, well, you.
No, I need to hear it again.
He just reads his own dialogue.
I get very excited about
about our storyline.
about what's happening. More sex for them, I always say.
Yeah. And he eats the pop.
I always call Robert. I was like, why are Kristen and David not fucking more in this scene?
Yeah.
Because
Constantly, I'm like, dude.
why? What is happening?
He's
No,
so
we
jealous.
get. You know, I am a fan of the show as much as being on it, and when I get the scripts, I think I devour them. You know, and I'm really excited about where the writers are taking the characters and where the stories go, because they do go to unexpected places. Is your phone on? Is that what's happening?
Okay, don't even try it, buddy.
Okay.
I'm not
I
gonna.
think you buy sushi for the whole audience
Oh.
now.
We have a running joke, and when the phone goes off on set, you're supposed to buy sushi for us, right? The other two.
Either of the 3 phones
Yes.
goes off, you buy sushi.
My phone never goes off.
My phone never goes off. We've bought sushi. Aasif's phone
Never.
goes off about like an average of
100 times.
a day, okay? He has never bought us
Not once.
sushi.
No.
Not
Not
once.
even once.
Not even a California roll.
Because they're vegetarians. No, I have never bought you sushi.
No.
But I did say I would
taking
buy you
us
a
out?
huge.
You gonna take us out
platter.
tonight?
Yeah, I'll take you out for
Tonight.
sushi. Whenever you want.
Tell them you're gonna take us out tonight.
I will
On you.
I will take you out for sushi.
If he doesn't take us out,
tonight.
all right? Not a 2-star restaurant either. I want some good stuff. Pre-made sushi.
This is a very in-depth conversation
Yeah.
about the process of
What you came
making
for.
this complicated show.
The process of making
Take us
sushi.
back on schedule.
Yeah.
Take us back.
Okay.
But you can see, like, we just have no fun with each other, so that's...
This is a show that has a lot of CG effects in it, but it also has a lot of practical effects. So in a hypothetical scene in which there's a demon head in a toilet, what are you actually working with? What's happening in that scene?
There's a demon head in the toilet.
Yeah, good question.
We're clearly like not working with. They put those in later. You know that's. I did a.
That's what he said.
Is that what you said?
Yes,
Oh, I'm sorry.
CGI.
I didn't.
That was not in the toilet?
Well, I wasn't there, but I'm pretty sure
I
it
think
wasn't.
that was a real.
That was a real.
That was a real demon that we
Yeah, we really found a
cast.
demon.
Okay,
And
that
we
went
put him in
through
the toilet.
many auditions.
Yeah.
And it was the scariest we could find.
there
We had
is-
to
there is
shoot
a
his head.
was
But
a
like the
scene-
hardest thing is like the CGI with when we're looking at screens. Like anytime we're looking at screens, we're looking at absolutely freaking nothing. Okay, and we're all trying to look at the same little dot, and it's just those things.
Yeah, like that whole scene with the where we were up in the what was it, the observation deck.
Room deck, yeah.
Remember that was like on a green screen, and we were just looking at dots, you know, on a green screen. Like, oh my God, that's happening over here. All that stuff was put in.
That's
later.
her face. That was it.
You know.
That's exactly, yeah. That's it.
And I try to keep it small, you know, because Robert likes those.
Robert pulls back when he
close
does that. It's like-
close angles. No, and then the other thing that's really great is Marty Matulis, who's this wonderful actor, movement actor, who plays George, who might make a little return this season.
And a lot of demons. He plays a lot of.
And he plays all the other ones. So when when you interact with one of his characters, we actually do interact with him, with a demon, which is wonderful.
Now, I'm sure that this is the question that you get asked the most frequently, or one of the questions you get asked the most frequently. Of all of the scary, disturbing, etc., things that you've dealt with on the show, how often does something sort of stick in your mind and go home with you? How often do you have nightmares related to the show?
Never. See, I think we're making a very funny show. Am I on the wrong show? I don't know. I don't see it as a horror show at all. I think we're making like a kooky, weird, super smart, because the Kings are smart, really intelligent, and I think we're just a wacky show.
Yeah.
With some scares, sure, but like it's never like I don't feel scared ever.
I don't know how you can be afraid of a demon named George and what was the other one that was with you?
Abby.
Abby Kadabi. You know, like I mean, come on. How do you?
It's hard to feel scared because the stuff is also so technical sometimes. You know, like when I did the scenes last season with Abby, who was a demon that haunted Ben at night. You know, they had. I just remember like she had to sort of get on top of me, but she's in this huge costume and she's trying, and then there's three guys like maneuvering her tail from behind, and you know, and our first AD Dennis comes in and is like, you know, when I'm straddling somebody, I don't stand like that. I stand like this, and so you've got like teamsters standing around. And so it's hard to be scared, or I imagine, feel sexy, in those moments.
Yeah, I think the things that I feel that I do take on is when last season when Kristen started to go think that she was losing her mind, and she was self-mutilating, like burning the crosses on her tummy, and just in order to play that, I need to get to a little bit of a dark place, which is my favorite. So those kinds of things do stick. That but that's more like an emotional. That's just our job, I guess. I love you. I hope you enjoy all this hard work.
The show is very funny. It's also very dark, and a lot of what the show is about is kind of trying to make sense of the horrors of the actual world through this very funny, very strange prism, and I'm curious if that helps. Like when you're actually reading the newspaper in the morning.
I wish it wasn't the case. I don't need it. Let's stop that, please.
Yeah, we don't need it.
Yeah.
I wish our show was really just far-fetched, and the stuff we talked about or stuff that we subjects we broached were far away from what was the reality of our society. I mean, I don't like it to be so relevant. I really don't. It's better to really have it be some faraway galaxy or some alternate universe where we really don't have any of these things happening, but sometimes we deal with this stuff and I go, gosh, internet is really a dark place and it's really sad. And so unfortunately, we do touch those subjects, but we try to make light of them and make it interesting for you guys without beating you over the head with, you need to stop doing that and think about that. But it's in there, and unfortunately it's true and applicable.
I hope that our show does feel a little bit hopeful sometimes. I think somebody once described it as hopeful because, we're battling the bad stuff, so that's what you can. But then I read was it in the script? Did Robert take it out? I'm not sure, but there's something where he said, and then 43 million people died or something. And I was like, Robert, can you take that out? Can you bring that number down? Because they seem to be very, what's the word for that? I'm not American. This is not my language.
Like Nostradamus.
No,
Prescient.
Yes.
Predictive.
Yes, they did stuff on The Good Fight, that other show that they have and on The Good Wife that then ended up coming true. So I was like, let's maybe not do that on the TV, okay?
Well, one thing that the show is certainly not hopeful about is social media. I think one of the things the show does best is actually capture what a hellscape social media is. Have you guys had to reevaluate your own time on social media?
Every day.
Yeah, I mean, I think some people who've tried everything. I mean, I think you delete your app for a bit. I try to, just do it at certain times. Leave the phone in the dressing room. There's all kinds of things, but I mean, also we also try to promote the show, and we try to do some behind the scenes stuff, because what you realize once the phone is in your hand, it's like muscle memory. Your finger hits things, and you don't even know you're doing it. And I think that's the hard part. I think when you get into this habit of just opening your phone and just hitting this app, and it just becomes something you do. Yeah, just something you do, even though you're not supposed to be doing it right now. And what you don't want to do is always do it.
ATX.
You don't want to. You don't want to always.
Film them.
You don't want to always be living your life through your phone for people, and stuff. That's the hard part. It's really sad.
I have a young child, and I'll tell you that is the best way to get yourself off of social media.
Give them the phone. Give them the phone. Let them play with
He
it.
steals my phone. But also just spending time in the real world is often a great recipe for just trying to engage in the now.
Unless you look around and everybody has their phone, they're looking down. Then you just go, oh well, and you look back down at your phone.
But I think the thing that we're also touching on is that a lot of evil people can do evil things if we're all just stupidly engaged in our stupid little screens, worrying about shit that actually doesn't matter. Everyone's been watching this Deb Heard trial, which obviously has, terrible implications for women moving forward, regardless of who was right and who was wrong. But we also had Clarence Thomas, the Supreme Court justice, whose wife tried to overthrow the government. Yeah. And that made 15 seconds of the news cycle. We were literally not talking about that. Yeah. And we might lose democracy here. What the fuck is happening? Pardon my French. And we're all guilty, but there are people who are doing that who are very aware that we have no defense. Well,
because Johnny Depp and Amber Heard were having a big fight.
Yeah. So we talked about that.
So we needed to pay attention to that.
Yeah.
Well, now it's kind of interesting because now you can talk about, survivors and what does this mean for women going forward. And so now I actually think it's sort of an interesting subject. At the time I was like, I don't care about, let them, why are we all, what? And even if you didn't pay attention like me, it's still going to show up. So, and there's just so much more important, like maybe saving the planet and maybe keeping this a democracy, and maybe getting, some gun reform and all that stuff. Yeah. Sorry for getting so moral over here.
Yeah, find a new hobby, just find a new hobby. Everybody wants to, do stuff and find something. The main thing is, I have kids, and we all have loved ones, and ultimately, we can't really downplay what's happening. I think we have to understand that life is hard enough as it is. And what we don't want to do is have to walk out our door and be at the mercy of every crazy person that decides they're having a bad day today. That's really what life is hard as it is, and we just want to be able to go outside. And I get people who send me messages all the time from other countries, and they go, I just feel for you, because that's just not something we have to deal with. And you know what I mean? Just not something we have to deal with. And it would be a load off of our shoulders, every person in here, if we just knew that wasn't a problem anymore. And I think there's a world where we can make that happen,
Yeah, so sometimes demons just look like regular people.
I've got lots more questions, but I want to make sure that we get a few questions from the audience. Okay, so
yes.
Right down there. Yeah.
Ooh.
For the recording,
Working
let me
on
repeat that. He wanted to know about the season 2 episode, S is for Silent, if there are going to be any more experimental episodes like that, and when the musical episode.
There's an episode this season where everyone is talking at the same time, and you can't understand anything that's being said. So we went all the way in the other direction.
I think the musical episode.
The musical episode would be amazing.
We're trying.
Because none of us can sing.
None of us.
All right.
We're going to get it dubbed.
Yeah.
But I do think we are trying. I mean, we keep asking Robert, and Robert sometimes humors us, and I did pitch him an idea about something that's similar to the silent episode, and we'll see if he implements that. But we do like these sort of challenges, and it makes it
You pitch.
Did you pitch?
An episode just you and Aasif and I are just.
me in front of a
This
computer
is like
screen
a
making
totally
faces.
Mike Colter focused
What if
episode.
there's an episode
I'm just
where
basically scrolling the computer, just like that, the whole time. That's the whole episode. And like,
Okay.
That's it. No, honestly.
they did threaten to write a karaoke thing in like, but that was
really?
back in. They haven't done it yet, so maybe
Anyway,
it'll happen
to
at some
answer
point.
this
Sorry.
seriously, super seriously,
Seriously.
okay? We do not have another silent episode. I
No.
think that was a one-off thing because you can't really repeat that. And we loved how it turned out, and Robert directed that, and was actually my favorite episode maybe last season. But I think, knowing the Kings and how brilliant they are, they're going to come up with some other kooky shit.
Also, Aasif joked about an all-overlapping dialogue episode, but the girls are already in that episode.
Girls already do that. They already.
Can't do that. You can't do that.
I'm curious about those scenes. What does it sound like when that doesn't work? When the overlapping isn't in sync the way that the Kings want it to be?
Oh, it needs to be overlap because sometimes we start like the way that the dialogue is written. It'll just say daughters, and then it'll say all the dialogue that they have with like whatever that's called in English, slashes in between. And so we'll like rehearse it and give dialogue to the different girls, and then I try to get them amped up a little bit. They're really fun. They're really funny improvisers. Dahlia, the youngest, comes up with the craziest stuff. Crazy, and really, really very funny. And then we just say more, and they give more, and it's always just so good. They're so lovely.
Okay. Other questions? I see back there. Yeah.
Is there a scene or an episode coming up where y'all punch Michael or Leland in his face?
The questioner asked if there's a scene coming up where they punch Michael Emerson's Leland in the face.
You just want us to give away spoilers, like basically.
I found it so hard to not freaking punch him in this
Yeah.
episode. But I guess taking the high road was sort of interesting. Like when they wrote that, when I read that, I was like, how can Kristen be in one room with this guy? I just don't understand after everything he's done. But I think, we'll see. We'll see how it ends.
Maybe there's an episode where Michael Emerson punches himself in the face.
I mean, I've killed once. I can kill again.
Let me adjust my seat a little bit so I can see. There, yeah. What was it like working with Andrea Martin, she asks.
She's amazing. She is just a wonderful, so funny. She comes from improv. What's the thing? Yeah,
The troop.
Improvisation.
SCTV.
The troop in Canada.
SCTV.
Oh, yes.
TV.
She's hilarious. She's just a delight, and her role is really funny, and I love her more than Mike and Aasif.
This is
You know,
really
it's
this is
fine,
really like an amazing role for her. I think she's so.
Be an amazing role for you too.
It could be. I look good in a habit. I would wear it. I actually worked with Andrea 20 years ago on Broadway in Oklahoma, and so it was really fun to have worked with her back then, and now be working with her again today, and she's still like just on fire. Like she comes up with stuff, and she's funnier off screen than she even is on the show. She's like she'll just say things. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Oh, she'll just say things all the time.
She will say-
Last episode, she just says stuff. It's great. It's great. On the way out the door, she's like, and she just says something. You go, wow. Wow, you said that, didn't you?
Sometimes she'll just say something,
came out of your mouth.
and Mike and I will just look at each other and be like,
Wow.
she just said that.
Just said
She
that.
Said that.
Did you hear what she said?
She's dirty. She's filthy. She's filthy.
Hey,
is what
whoa,
we're
whoa,
saying.
whoa. I didn't say that. He said that.
Also, Oklahoma with Andrea Martin. So the whole thing about we can't sing, that's a lie?
Were you just thinking that? You were just thinking that? I was the non-singing role in Oklahoma.
So you can dance is what you're saying.
I was
No,
the
he-
non-singing, non-dancing role in Oklahoma.
He's a scarecrow.
I played the peddler. I had a patter song. That's about But I can sing. I think actually this season. Wait a minute.
We can
this
sing.
season we
We can
do
sing
have a
right up.
song that we all sing together. And I won't tell you much more than that. But we do all sing a song together, and it actually sounds pretty good. It sounded pretty good.
No, I was being like super modest. I'm an amazing singer.
She has an album coming out in
I've
about 2
got
months.
it, like,
Time we should tell you about it.
Please
Katja
save it on
Herber's
Spotify, all right?
Spotify.
'Cause it's gonna be.
Song called Yodel Lady Hoo Hoo. It's by Katja. She wrote it herself. Yodel Lady Hoo Hoo. Want to give him a little sample? Yodel Lady.
Or I can go to another question from the audience if you. There.
Who would be your dream guest star in the upcoming season?
Who, she asks, would be your.
Well, the upcoming season is already done. So you mean like the?
Well, we haven't been picked up for the fourth one.
But if we were to do
Very
it, I think you mean
hopeful.
like yeah.
I mean, Whoopi Goldberg, she moderated a panel a couple years ago. Yeah, Whoopi. She's a big fan of the show. I mean, look, she wants to be on the show. We'd love to have people like her on the show. It's just,
She wanted to play Ben's mom.
Yes, Ben's mom. That's who she wanted to play. Ben's mom.
Was it-
All the people she could play on the show. She decided she wanted to play Ben's mom. That was, yeah. It's like, all right, sounds right. Sounds about right. Yeah.
Looking. No, actually, more serious answers if you have any.
Oh yes, no, sorry.
Or if it's just Whoopi Goldberg.
Whoopi Goldberg would be amazing to have on the show. She would be an amazing guest.
No, we actually do have wish lists, and I think New York is a wonderful place to find wonderful talent, and the Kings have like a catalog, a Rolodex of people, and we just keep getting so lucky to bring them all on the show, and so we just look at the call sheet, or at least some of us do, and check out who's coming to play, but we don't have a wish list because we don't know what's coming up. We don't know the scripts. But when I see a script and I go, oh, I envision someone on, in my head, and most times it's not who it is though. I mean, just be honest.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's not who it is. Yeah.
Anyone? Right. Oh, I thought you had a question. Do we have one more question? Whoop, I see one right there.
So outside of the sex scenes and the green screens and stuff, has there been something that in the script where you were like maybe hesitant about doing it or not sure, not because of your characters, but maybe something personal?
Yeah, I have something coming up that I think I shouldn't spoil. But when you'll see it, you'll remember this moment because it's just the most sort of horrible image that took a lot to be able to act. And so sometimes I'm just like emotionally, I'm just like, holy crap, I gotta take myself there. Like I couldn't have myself come up with what that was. I couldn't have, like, if I tried to think of the worst thing, I wouldn't have thought of that. And now that's in my brain. Now that's there. And now So like I remember after second season, I thought next season I'm just gonna try to be a little less, because the second season was sort of an emotional roller coaster for me, which was an amazing thing to play. But I was also tired. Just my heart was a little tired, And then so third season, I thought I'm just gonna be less of a bit of a method actor. Like I'm not method in the sense where I'm like, don't talk to me, my name's Kristen, I need, I'm not at all, like we're goofing around all the time, but I just don't know how to do my job without actually feeling the feelings. I have no idea, like somebody help me, I don't know how to do it. So sometimes when they put me through these hard feelings, I will feel that. And I remember Mike and I had a scene where, it's not really a spoiler, but there's a scene where we have a fight, and the fight got very serious between us. And I remember both of us were like, for like 3-4 days, we were like, and we're great friends, and we were like,
Yeah, it didn't feel good.
Did we just have this fight?
It
Like,
didn't
how
feel
are
good.
we gonna?
I think we had a fight in real life because we had a fight on screen. I think the fight made a fight in real life because we're like, wait. I don't know what happened. Sometimes
Yeah.
Robert writes.
It's weird.
Yeah, he writes.
This is a stupid profession. Do not go in it.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It's seriously ridiculous.
Anything for you, Aasif?
No, I love everything I get to do. I don't. I get along with. I don't have fights with people. I'm the most fun person to work with on the show.
He loves
I've
driving his
told you
pickup
this.
truck.
Told
He
you
likes
this.
the pickup truck. That's what he likes. He likes.
I am the easiest going, most fun, loving, just a dreamboat to be with.
Modest, humble. Really.
Season 3 of Evil returns to Paramount Plus in less than 2 weeks now. Thank you to Katja, Mike, and Aasif.